Happy New Year, guys. I hope you've had a great time. And welcome back to the Careers Live. This is the first one of 2023. How exciting. Thank you for joining. And I hope everyone's had a fantastic time over the holidays. Appreciate you all joining, guys. Happy New Year to you. I'm sure we'll stop saying that at some point. So today's or tonight's guest is Soren Fruerlund. IMS level 3, some of you will know him, he's part of the CHEK faculty over in Denmark. And I'm going to jump straight on to getting Soren on. We're get started. There he is.
Hi, Andy.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. So guys, this is Soren Fruerlund. I'm probably going to get corrected on the pronunciation of Fruerlund.
Well, it sounds more or less correct. We'll accept it.
Yeah. So you're currently IMS level 3 and you run Fruerlund Healthcare in Denmark, and you're also running CHEK faculty, or on behalf of CHEK faculty, the courses out there in Denmark. I think you've got a few later on this year, right?
Yeah, we have IMS 1 and 3 this year.
Fantastic. You might see me there. You might see me down there.
You're welcome.
Am I right in thinking that you and I did our HLC2 together?
We did that together, yeah, right. In,
Gosh.
yeah, 17 or 18 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a few years back. So what I'd like to do, guys, you are more than welcome to ask Soren any questions you want. I think Soren's got a fantastic business model, and I think it's going to be a very useful template for you to look at how you could do maybe what he's doing, where you are based. I'd like to start at the very beginning, Soren, and first of all, understand what got you into coaching and helping people before we talk about the CHEK Institute.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me today. Well, I started basically in track and field when I was a lot younger, where I had my own career in track and field as on the national youth team as a runner. And then later on, I started being a coach for track and field athletes at quite high elite level here in Denmark. And that actually got me started into the coaching business model, so to speak, before I started as a personal trainer in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. And then basically I just stopped as a coach in track and field because I felt like my passion started to decrease a little bit. And as most people know, I like to be quite passionate about what I'm doing. So I started to seek out how can I help people elsewhere, because I wasn't finished coaching, but I was probably finished coaching in track and field. And then I applied for a personal trainer job here in Denmark. And then, yeah, I got it, and then started to being in the business for the last 13 years or so.
So you went from working in track and field with semi-pro and possibly even pro athletes, and then you went into a gym space where you were working with layman's people, general population, right?
Yeah, I did. So basically it was a big change to begin with, because to be honest, I didn't have any experience in being at a gym before I got hired as a personal trainer, because I've only worked with athletes. So I didn't have any experience in that. So I just started basically to seeing, okay, how is it to coach people, learning the business skills of it, because again, I haven't been doing that as a track and field coach. So I just started to get a lot of experience, a little bit of sales training, and basically just trying to gain knowledge within the personal trainer business, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much you want to elaborate that, but just...
No, it's a good start for us. It's a good start. Guys, thank you for joining. Those of you who are still joining, you're on with myself, Anne McGlynn, and Soren Fruerlund from Denmark. Any of you who are embarking on IMS level 1 or 3 in Europe, it's very likely that you will be getting taught by Soren. So it's a good time to get acquainted to him right now. He's a great guy. We did our HLC2 together. And I vaguely remember you volunteered yourself for... we won't go into detail, but you volunteered yourself for something with Warren. And if you volunteer yourself with anything with Warren, you've got to really just expect anything. And that was quite an experience, wasn't it? It was quite a heavy experience.
Yeah, it really was. And I think at that point, when I would say engaged in the course at HLC2, I was kind of like, well, I'm here obviously because I want to learn. That's why you sign up for a course. But I also felt like, well, when I'm engaging in a course, and I would like, or hopefully, I would like my clients, to open up with me, to work with me. I want to know what it feels like to work with myself. I want to evolve as a person as well, because I think that obviously is for my benefit, but I think also it benefits my clients. So as you know, I volunteered as the case for the course, basically to see how it would be to, what you guys saw in me and my paperworks, and to be coached by Warren.
Yeah, guys, if any of you have done HLC level 1, strongly recommend you working towards HLC 2. It's quite a step up. The questionnaires are more in depth. The exploration around the archetypes, the sheer amount of spiritual content that Warren Williams gives is really, it's unparalleled with anything else. I think the guy has read every single religion or religious textbook that represents each religion. I think he said he rattled them all off. The Bible, the Quran, every single one. It was quite intense, shall we say? But incredible course. So on that then, Soren, when did you first hear about CHEK?
Well, I think I heard of it in my personal trainer course back in 2009. And the reason why I say think is because, well, I didn't notice it that much. But I know a couple of years later, when I say a couple of years, I think it's 4 to 5 years later, I have a colleague of mine mentioned to want to go to this Inspire convention where the CHEK Institute is coming as well. And I was kind of thinking, I think I've heard that before, the CHEK Institute. I think I heard about it. I got a recall thinking, okay, I think I've heard about that on my personal trainer course. And then I actually went for the Inspire convention and signed up for all the CHEK workshops with Lee, actually. When Lee again were there, kind of like workshops on flattening your abs wherever, talking about the gut health, talking about posture, things like that. So I signed up for the courses there, for the workshops. And then, I was hooked after that. So then I signed up for my IMS 1 course. It was called CHEK Exercise Coach back then.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So did you do the academy route, Soren, or did you just do the ATPs one-off?
No, just the ATPs because, well, the academy didn't exist then. So I'm that old. So I did it on my own because it was pre-academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the benefit of everyone joining, and guys, thank you for joining. This is a real treat tonight. We've got Soren from Denmark. And just to repeat myself, anyone that is going to be studying MS level 1 or 3 this year, 2023, in Europe, it's likely that you will come into contact with Soren. He's a great guy. We spent a good 5 days together. Absolute salt of the earth. Soren, can you just talk people through a brief overview of IMS level 2 and 3 in terms of the key outcomes of what you would learn?
Yeah, of course. Well, IMS 2 is, I would say, a lot more in-depth, a lot of more assessing than IMS 1. A lot of dynamic movements, because when you're having IMS 1, you have a lot of static posture measurements, obviously a lot of the core function, but a lot of length-tension relationship being measured at IMS 2. We're measuring how does the spine move, actually, when flexion, rotation, extension, a lot of advanced program design. And then we have the infant development part, which a lot of people know, and they're a bit in love with the infant development. I use it a lot in my practice. So that's the first introduction we get on IMS 2. So I would say when you reach the level of IMS 2, hopefully HLC 2 in the same year as well, especially if you're in an academy, I would think, especially looking back, that's the level where you really get the experience of what does it mean to be a CHEK practitioner.
So just on IMS level 2, because it surprises me that you say there's more assessing than IMS 1, because IMS 1, is quite in depth, right? Spinal alignment, pelvic tilt, first rib, forward head posture, TVA, multifidus. That's quite a lot to cover in, I think it's 5 days, 7 days. I know it's gone online now, which I think some people are finding really helpful that the IMS 1 is now online. So to step up more assessments on IMS level 2, that's really quite something. So talk us through what people can expect to learn on IMS level 3 then.
Well, IMS level 3 is a lot more, I would say, more specific. Because when you're looking more in-depth, looking at the spine, the lumbar spine, okay, how does it move? Pathologies of disc bulges, of spondylolisthesis, stenosis. We're looking a lot more of the lower limbs, the hip joints and the knee. So that's more of a pathological injury, so to speak, a lot more in-depth detail in that specific area. So that's, I would say, that's, again, we're getting a lot more into the specific rehab parts for specific injuries from the, well, lumbar spine and down and the lower limbs. So I would say that's a lot more detail and orthopedic, so to speak, than compared to IMS 2.
And the recent new course, spinal structures, that's not a prereq for IMS 2 or 3, I don't believe. I might be wrong, but that's probably a very good grounding short course to have at least an advantage, because Matt goes into all the different spinal issues on that prereq. Well, I say prerequisite short course. Yeah,
and I think in general, it's again in my experience also going through the system up to IMS 4. We're going up to IMS 4. I would think use the tools you're learning at the specific levels.
Yeah.
Because if you're practicing the IMS 1 stuff before you're coming to IMS 2, that makes a lot more sense, and you won't get, discouraged by all the assessment because you've used all the IMS 1 stuff. The same as for going IMS 3 and IMS 4. If you keep using the stuff on your clients, doing the program designs, you're doing the holistic approach, integrating ACC 2, well, then I think it's more of a step up each time, more and more specific pathologies. You're getting more of a better overview of what basically what's going on with the client. So I think it's quite a neat journey to go through. Which also I think the Academy is such a great system to work with, because basically it's structured out for you if you want to take that way. I'm not saying you should do it, but I think it's just quite neatly planned. Yeah.
And for you guys, just to bear in mind, the next intake for the Academy is actually in April. So you can enroll anytime, but it won't start until April. There's 2 intakes each year, April and October. And if you miss April, then you have to wait till October. And I think both Soren and I would agree that it's a more cost-effective way of doing the courses. And it's quite structured in its way. It's not quite structured, it's very structured in its way. And there's a few treats in there as well. You get a few lectures from Paul live, get a chance to ask Paul a few questions. I think Penny's also involved. And you've got the wonderful Alex as well, Alex Pichalik, who's now IMS 4. So, Soren, let's get into your clinic, your facility, because I think this is going to be really helpful for those on the live right now. Having looked at your website, it looks very medical-esque in its delivery. You've got a nice team of CHEK practitioners, level 2s and 3s. Talk us through the operating model. How does it work? How do you treat people?
Well, the model we're using is actually, first off, we're offering most clients a consultation, basically a pre-examination. So they're signing up, they want to hear more about how we can help them. And we usually try to work with clients anyway. They have been through a lot of trainers before. They have been through physiotherapy, osteopathy, doctors, operations, personal trainers, obviously. Persistent pain is basically what we are trying to set a business model up towards.
Okay.
And when they're reaching out for us, we're offering basically a consultation where we actually get them to fill out some of the HSC2 questionnaires to begin with, not all of it, but some of it. We analyze that through. We are meeting them at our clinic, our studio, like to call it. And then we actually are doing some of the assessments and basically just to try and find out what's going on. And then we are offering them packages. So we do not offer, one session at a time, or they can purchase 5 sessions. We offer them packages, which is quite often a minimum of 3 months. And that's including a package calling assessments, program design, probably a session once a week throughout the next 3 months. So that's usually how we set up our business model.
Does anyone come to you for body composition change, or is it all just pain relief?
Usually it's pain relief, but
Interesting.
as we probably know, one thing is to get out of pain, but as also we speak with our clients about in the consultation, getting out of pain, that's one goal. I say to some of the clients, that's kind of like saying, I do not want to drown. That's fine. But basically, where do you want to swim towards? So basically, what's your dream? If you're not in pain, what do you want to do? Then some people say, well, I want to lose weight. I want to look more fit. I want to be, more healthy. I want to be able to play with my kids, grandchildren, things like that. So they come in because they want to get out of pain. But during the consultation, we are adding basically something towards their dream.
That's a really important point. And guys who've just joined, thank you for joining us. We're on with Soren Fruerlund of Fruerlund Healthcare, IMS Level 3 and CHEK faculty. And if you ever do your Level 1, Level 3 in Europe, you'll be doing it with Soren, most likely. But he's just mentioned a really interesting point there, that a lot of physios, osteos treat the condition, and I'm sure fix the condition. But the bigger picture, and as personal trainers as well, and coaches, whatever you are, to tap into the client's bigger goal and bigger desire and what you really want to do, you refer to it as your dream, I think is so important. It's like the next part that most people don't talk about, because from my experience in gyms, I've noticed that we as personal trainers are very towards motivated. So we have a goal, whether it's a certain weight, body fat percentage, circumference measurement, we have a very specific goal. We are towards motivated. Most gym members are away from motivated. They are motivated to train to avoid the bad things that will happen. So I've walked the floor in gyms and I've said, what are you training for? Oh, nothing, just general this, general that, general toning, very, very superficial stuff. But then when you ask them what they're not training for, it all comes out. Well, if I don't train, my shoulder starts playing up, I start putting the weight on, I can't sleep properly, I feel sluggish. And these are all the kind of powerful motivators, because as we know, Soren, pain is a more powerful motivator than pleasure. And it's the terminology and the confusion between the coach and the client. It's incredible that you're doing that as what looks like a very medically led clinic, very precise, delivering pain management, pain relief, but also tapping into what their goal is. That's a massive point for everyone there, guys, that you must add that on top.
Yeah, and I think that you also need to know as a CHEK practitioner, or to work with clients in general, I would say, you need to risk pushing the client a little bit in the consultation. You need to be honest and saying, okay, why are you here today? Someone is saying, well, I've heard good things about you on your website, testimonials, things like that. I'm kind of like, well, that's fine. That made you contact, but basically what's your dream? What do you want to achieve? What would happen if you do not change anything today? If you just leave our clinic today and just continue what you're doing right now, where will you be in 5 years? Where would you like to be in 5 years? And I'm not saying what you hope to gain or to decrease the pain a little bit. What would be the dream basically? What is it that you not even sometimes don't dare to dream? What's that goal like? So you compare to, if you continue the same path you're on right now, where will you be in 5 years, compared to if we change, A, B, C, your gut health, your posture, basically all the assessments we're doing in the consultation. Because we need to get them, we need to know why they are here.
And I suppose the root of the problem, for want of a better phrase, is often an emotional or mental barrier. They've always wanted to do something and felt embarrassed to do it, or felt that they couldn't do it or they lacked the confidence. So I think empathy is a huge driver in a characteristic of coaches, which I also think drives retention. I think the CHEK Institute for me, just kind of stepping back for a second, not being a Checky myself, I think the CHEK Institute, in all the different certifications and institutes I've worked with, it's the only one that has really pulled me to retain my involvement and interest in working with clients, because it just gives so much to work with to completely recondition the entire being that's in front of you. It's quite wonderful, really.
I really agree, and I think what I see in my colleagues, in my CHEK colleagues, I think, to be honest, sometimes I see that in back to my HLC2 experience, is back to we as CHEK practitioners have the courage to use what we're actually being taught on the courses, so that I dare to ask the questions in the consultation I know sometimes may hurt the client. I know they can be emotional if I ask this specific question, but I should be okay with that. And again, my point being, as I said maybe previously, I signed up, so I know what it means to work with myself. I know basically know what it means to express emotions, to work really deep in myself. But because I know how that feels like, I'm comfortable in working with that in that area with me, then I can recognize that in my client. And I'm really comfortable in making my clients uncomfortable, so to speak. I'm comfortable in them being emotional. I'm comfortable pushing them when I coach them, obviously, but also in a consultation, basically just being honest in what I see and asking the questions that I see a lot of coaches and personal trainers as well. They're afraid of asking the questions, maybe because they haven't been there themselves.
So you think they're afraid of asking the question because they haven't been asked the question themselves? Is that what you think?
Yeah, because I think a good example is, well, if I'm afraid of crying myself, then I'll give it a little bit more deep, but if my unconsciousness knows if I want to ask the next question for my clients, I think my client's going to cry. If I can recognize that, how does that feel? What does it mean to cry? What does it mean to be in a room with a person that's crying? If I'm not comfortable crying myself, I would probably won't ask the question that would make a client cry. And I see that a lot in clients and in coaches, basically.
Interesting. So, speaking of the devil, we were just talking about our HLC2 experience with Warren Williams, the spiritual leader himself, and here he is. He's joined us. Warren, thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you. We're extolling the virtues of HLC2 and advising how awesome it is, and anyone that's done HLC1 really should step up to HLC2 because it is a massive step up. Those who haven't done HLC3, no one really knows what goes on at HLC3. It's all a bit of a shrouded secret. You just kind of like find out when you get there. But both Soren and I did our HLC2 together with the man himself, Warren Williams, and we cannot recommend that course highly enough. It's intense as hell, and I absolutely love the intensity of it because it blows boundaries and it blows neurons and beliefs, and also you go for a journey in the 5 days. I think it's 5 days. You go for an absolute journey with Warren, and he teaches you some really, really cool stuff. And Warren, I'm also going to plug you as well, mate, because you've got an incredible course that you also deliver yourself. I don't know if you tried it, Soren, but it's pretty cool. You'll have to put the name of it in the comments box. It escapes me, but it's very much reiterating and going over the HLC2 content. So if you haven't committed to HLC2, if you've not done HLC1, or you're not sure whether you want to do it or not, pick up with Warren because he's got these group sessions going on. Took part in it myself. They are cool as fuck. There you go, Warren. There's your plug. Mic drop. You remember that one's a private joke. Sorry, guys. Soren, what is the hourly rate then? What's the going rate for PTs in Denmark?
Well, for PTs in Denmark, roughly, if you want to say it in euros, I think it will be around 80 euros or so.
Wow. Okay. 80 euros is about £5. I'm joking. 80 euros is £70, £65.
Yeah. That's
Gosh,
the
that
average. That's the average PT. Yeah.
you know what's going to really blow your mind now? So my PT career started in 2002, and I was charging £30 an hour, and I'm now recruiting PTs myself who are charging £25 an hour,
It's
and it's
quite
outrageous.
low.
It's outrageous, outrageous. I could tell you more stories, but we won't go there. It's not one for today. It's too low vibration. But when I come over for a Danish pint, mate, we'll talk in more detail about some of the things that go on in the UK in terms of the PT industry. But yeah, there's PTs that I'm recruiting and interviewing and working with right now who are coming at like £25, £30 an hour. And there's sort of like, God, where do I start with that? Where do I start? There is so much that you could and should be doing. And it also drives that point home that cheaper is not better at all. My hourly rate, and I'm not saying this to impress anyone because I'm far too old to give a shit about trying to impress and stuff, but my hourly rate is £100 an hour. And people often say to me, oh, that's quite expensive. And I'm saying, well, I will cover more in one session for £100 an hour, and it's never an hour, then the next training will probably cover in, say, 5 sessions at £30 an hour. So in theory, I'm £50 cheaper. And it's about perceptual positions and paradigms that people have. And it's about the investment in themselves. I often passed through Denmark to get to Sweden. That's not meant as an insult, by the way. I'm just saying that I used to get I think it was the train from Copenhagen to Halmstad, where I used to go to the Elico Centre. And there's a stark difference in culture between UK and Denmark. Now, I might be way off the mark here, but do you buy into the concept that the Danish population are just healthier by culture? It's more integrated, or am I just leaving the witness there?
No, I think in general in Scandinavia, let's include Denmark, the general public are a little bit healthier, and we're thinking a little bit more holistic in general. So they're buying into the holistic approach, I think, a little bit more compared to UK, in my experience anyway. So I would think they are in general healthier, but the thing is here in Denmark, basically our healthcare system is free. So people can actually join, when I say they can join physios for free. So basically when clients come to our clinic or my clinic, well, it's a matter of they want to pay me a lot more than a personal trainer. And basically my competitors, that's for free.
Right.
So even though they're healthier, but if I can compare my business model, well, I'm comparing to something they get for free, and they don't get, well, obviously don't get to work with me or my colleagues for free. So I think that's a big gap as well. So I think obviously when we're talking hourly rates, it's obviously for comparison.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think the hourly rate really doesn't matter. Because I think, well, it is what do you want to gain to work with me? Because let's say you have a PT for £25 an hour. Well, do you want to work with a PT for £25 per hour twice a week for 3 years and gain this much? Or do you want to work with you for 3 months and gain this much? Mm-hmm. So I think we need to stop comparing, when clients are asking, what is the cost per hourly rate? Well, does that really care? Because what if I use 500 hours and you won't gain anything? What's important is what is that you're actually gaining to work with me? Yeah. That's actually what we're selling.
Very true, very true. And guys, don't get us wrong. We're talking about hourly rates. We're not contradicting ourselves. We're just saying that in its isolated format, the hourly rate doesn't really mean a great deal. But it's a variable that you have to consider on your business plan. and it's but ultimately on its own, it's as irrelevant as how much you bench. It's just not a relevant question on its own. It's again, but the short version is more interested in the ratio between rotator cuff and bench press strength as opposed to just the bench on its own. I had a question for you then as well. Actually, it was quite important. No, it seems to have escaped me. Anyway, while I'm thinking about the question I wanted to ask you, because it was quite a compelling one, guys, if you have any questions for Soren at all, feel free to drop them in the comments box and we'll happily ask him. You can ask him anything you want about his own practice that he runs. How long have you been running it for now? How long has it been in existence?
Actually, for 10 years. I've been have my own practice for 10 years, actually, in March. So we have 10 years working my own practice and having employees for 7 years now.
Wow. Is it all consuming or do you have a life balance with it?
Try to have a life balance with it, or I have. Actually, I also have a small business on the side where we educate personal trainers, actually. So we both educate personal trainers, physios, a little bit, but mostly personal trainers. And then obviously trying to have some time off once in a while, because again, we need to live authentic. I'm not saying it can be tough to work as a business owner, obviously, and to be self-employed, but again, I am basically what I'm offering to my clients. I offer my clients my time, so it means I need to take care of myself, obviously, to work with my clients. So it's quite consuming, but it's only consuming if I let it, basically.
Well, the difference between self-employed, which is a word you just used, and employed, self-employed people are paid on performance, whereas employed people are paid on attendance. And the mindset is many, many layers deep when you look at a self-employed person. They can fall into that trap of thinking that they've just got to make hay while the sun shines. I think for many, they worry that the clients are going to just dry up or they're going to leave them or something terrible is going to happen. But again, that comes back to business planning and being the right mindset for it. Are there any tips that you could give us? So as someone that's ran your own facility, very successful facility with multiple members of staff, offering pain relief, pain management services with an IMS level 3, level 4 delivery, offering let's call it the induction, which is essentially HLC 2 standard. What tips do you give us all when it comes to that life balance? What do you do to maintain stress, adrenal output, sleep health, your own training?
Well, as most people that know me, I'm quite structured, let's say at least. So basically, first off, let's get to know yourself. We're talking about the yin and yang balance, basically how much energy you use, how much energy you create and spend. So I would say, for me as an instance, I know, as I think a lot of personal trainers would be, because we are motivated to help people. I think we have a tendency in general, me included, to spend more energy than we create.
Yeah.
So if I know that, then I know in my schedule, if I'm not aware of it, I tend to put more clients in and more work in that would work for me in the long term. So that means the first thing I put in my calendar is, when do I leave work? When do I leave work? When basically do I pick up our son from school? When do I need to take lunch? When do I need to work out? So basically all the yin principles. So Dr. Quiet, Dr. Diet, the things I plot into my calendar first. When do I leave work? And then after that, I plug in, can I have clients? How many clients can I have? And each time I do that, I'm kind of like, I can't have that many clients. I'm not going to curse, but you know what I mean? So my point being, I definitely know myself well enough to know the first thing I need to plot in is basically the yin principles. And I need to be honest with myself and saying, this is what I want to engage in. This is my working hours. And when, let's say it's 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to leave work. I'm not going to work more. So I think that's the most important thing for me anyway. And that's my experience anyway when I'm mentoring CHEK practitioners and personal trainers. That would be managing your time and know your priorities. What is it that you're really willing to prioritize? And then you obviously would experience a lot of things you want to do, but you simply do not have the time. Because I think in general, a lot of people tend to do too much in a day, which means we accomplish less in a year.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Completely see that. Yeah. I've even done that in a week. I've gone so crazy on a Monday that I've been useless for the rest of the week. And it's a false economy. I've thought I'll get ahead. I'll do a 17-hour day on Monday, and I wait Tuesday, and by Wednesday I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's a principle around this kind of 4-day work week, which could be actually more productive than a 5-day week, because as far as I can see, and I don't want to slander my own, but from what I can see, the roads in the UK are heaving at 1 o'clock on a Friday because everyone's just trying to get out of there. So it's a really good point you raise about building the yin first. For those of you who just joined, we're just talking about Soren has given us some tips on how to manage yourself when you're running a busy practice. Like Soren, he's got a team of practitioners, and in March it'll be 10 years he's been running his clinic, so he knows a thing or two. But I think it takes discipline and belief to start with the yin first. You've got to believe that you're going to get the business and it's okay, and you've got to have the discipline, because it's so easy for someone to say, can you just fit me at 6 o'clock? Go on then. I did it on Saturday. I did an interview at 9:30 in the morning, and then an interview at 4:30 in the afternoon. So of course my entire day is just blown. And PTs do the same with sessions. They'll do, I don't know, Saturday 9 o'clock, and then they'll do a session at 12 o'clock, and they might do a session at 4 o'clock. So you've done 3 hours, but you've been really on the clock the whole day. So you're not really earning your hourly rate for the 3 hours, because you've just been loitering around the whole day, when you, like you say, you should be putting the time in for yourself to keep you going. It's a really important point.
And just to comment on that, and also when you're having your clients put in after that, say my lunch is in, my day off is in, things like that. But when I book my clients, the first clients I book, it's the clients basically where their schedule is quite rigid. So they can only, in the afternoon, I book them in first. And then the clients that are more flexible, I'm just, adding them up to stack them up together during the day. So it's also how I book clients in for them one at a time. First of all, the most rigid clients, or they're having the same, basically there's the same schedule each week. And then the most flexible clients, I book them in last on my calendar.
Clever.
So it's also a lot of a hack of doing again. So obviously I can be a little bit flexible. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm quite rigid in my schedule. So I have long days and Mondays, a little bit Tuesday, but Wednesday and Fridays for me, I leave office on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock the latest, and at 12:30 at the latest on Fridays.
Sounds like you got it made.
It works okay.
So to wrap up, just talk us through the education that you offer then. So is this something that you're offering globally, or is this only in Danish language for Danish?
It's only, I would say only, but mostly Danish. We have one course for educating personal trainers in English, but otherwise it's Danish. We educate personal trainers here and it's only in Denmark. But it's trainers, coaches, running coaches as well. It's my background. So what we educate here in Denmark. We're actually quite large company as well here in Denmark anyway.
So anyone that's relocating to Denmark looking to be a PT potentially should talk to you about getting that baseline certification in place.
Yeah, definitely. Of course you should choose us.
Søren, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining the live. And guys, thank you for joining myself, Andy McGlynn, and Soren Fruerlund, IMS Level 3 CHEK faculty. And those of you who are getting your study on in 2023, if you attend the CHEK Europe courses, live courses, it's very likely you might be taught by Soren here. Soren, all the very best for 2023. Hope it's an amazing year for you. Likewise for yourselves, guys. That's us for today. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you again, Soren.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.